Ecclesiastes chapter 3 may seem to teach resignation. In reality, it confronts our illusion of control. The text does not simply say that everything passes, it asks who governs time. Before the famous poem, the teacher examines work, pleasure, wisdom, and frustration. He observes that human life keeps moving, yet never fully controls the outcome. Then comes the decisive declaration. There is an appointed season for everything, and there is a time for every human purpose under heaven. Birth and death open the poem, reminding us of limits that no one can negotiate. Planting and uprooting show that productivity also depends on the right seasons. Killing and healing name harsh realities. They are not permission for violence. Tearing down and building reveal that some new beginnings first require painful losses. Weeping and laughing can exist within the same life without canceling each other out. Mourning and dancing show that mature faith does not ignore legitimate emotions. Scattering and gathering stones remind us of destruction, preparation, and patient communal rebuilding. Embracing and refraining from embracing require discernment, boundaries, and respect for the moment. Searching and giving up recognize that not every loss can be reversed. Keeping and throwing away require wisdom, so that memory does not become a prison. Tearing and mending appear when covenants, garments, or relationships pass through times of crisis. Silence and speech require different kinds of courage, and both can serve the truth. Love and hate describe moral loyalties, not permission for sinful cruelty. War and peace close the list, exposing the instability of human history. The poem does not celebrate every event. It recognizes the reality of every season. Then the teacher asks, what gain remains from all this labor? That question connects the chapter to the central theme of the entire book of Ecclesiastes. We work intensely, but we do not control the beginning, the duration, the result, or the end. God gives human beings their tasks, but He retains the government of history. Then comes the decisive statement. God has made everything appropriate in its time. This does not mean that everything appears good while it is still incomplete. It means that the full meaning belongs to the author, not to one isolated moment. The same verse says that God has placed eternity in the human heart. This expression may point to an awareness of eternity and a desire to understand the whole. We perceive fragments, but we long to comprehend the complete story of God. That is why time troubles us. We live through separate parts while desiring to see the entire picture. But the text adds a limit. No one can discover the whole work of God. Mystery is not a failure of faith. It is part of being a creature. God knows the complete design while we travel through only one section of it. This difference does not humiliate us cruelly. It invites us to trust. Ecclesiastes responds to this limitation with a surprisingly simple and practical way of living. Rejoicing, doing good, eating, and drinking are presented as gifts. The text does not defend empty pleasure, but gratitude within mortality. Receiving ordinary life as a gift is also an act of faith. Then the teacher declares that everything God does will endure forever. Nothing can be added to or taken away from God's final purpose. This permanence stands in contrast to our fragile, temporary, and deeply incomplete works. Now we reach the central revelation. God works through time to form reverence. The seasons expose our limitations, correct our impatience, and dismantle our self-sufficiency. God does not merely produce results, He forms people throughout the process. That is why waiting can be obedience, and acting can also be obedience. Wisdom consists in discerning which response belongs to the present season. The chapter also confronts injustice in places that were meant for human judgment. Ecclesiastes chapter 3 verse 17 declares that God will ultimately judge both the righteous and the wicked. There is a time for every purpose, including a time for justice to appear. Meanwhile, mortality humbles human beings and animals alike before God. The text does not deny future hope. It emphasizes our present fragility. We return to the dust, remembering that we are not the absolute masters of life. Even so, the teacher recommends responsibly enjoying the work received from God. This portion does not solve everything, but it sustains faithfulness in the present season. Acts chapter 1 verse 7 reminds us that times and seasons belong to the Father's authority. Galatians chapter 4 verse 4 shows Christ coming when the fullness of time had arrived. In Jesus, the promised time came. Therefore, no season is empty. Which biblical season changed the way you see your life? Leave a comment and subscribe to continue learning.